Hello, watercolor artists. I'm so glad you are here. Watercolor cards. I try to teach creativity as a process and enjoy the journey. Your creativity expands the more that you share it with others, so that's why we make cards for so many. And in this video, I'm going to show you how I use Karin Markers. They are a water-based pigment and so fun to use, and you'll see different processes. So come along, I'm going to show you how I paint with monochromatic colors, juicy colors. I'm going to do some wet into wet. It's just going to be a lot of fun, and you're going to come away learning a whole lot about Karin Markers. And this video is really a fun one because I'm also showing how I stamp on mixed media paper, which is like a watercolor paper, but it's a bit thinner instead of watercolor paper. So you can kind of stretch your dollar a little bit, but it's so much fun and the quality is there and it's just so much fun. So anyways, if you are new to my channel, please like and subscribe. Hit the like button. I know it doesn't mean a lot to you, but it means a world to me, and I'm so grateful you are here. So let's jump in. All right, first things first, I am using Canson mixed media watercolor paper, 5.5 by 8.5, so you should be able to get 2 up on one piece of mixed media watercolor paper, and I get them at my art store. Then I am using the Fancy Florets by Tailored Expressions, and I am using a Misty. I'm also using archival ink, safe ink, Oreo from Tailored Expressions. It's bleed proof. And of course my Karin Markers, which I love. They are my favorite. And I use them very often. I think I've had these for a good 5 years, since about the pandemic. And they are so fun. The rainbow order just makes my heart so happy. So anyways, come along with me. I'm just using the brights in the Karin Markers set, and we'll be playing around with them, but any colors that you have will work. You could also use Tombow markers instead of the Karin Markers as well. I'm also using 2 brushes, mediums. One's an 8 and one's a 6, round brush. They don't have to be anything fancy. All right, so I have my stamp on the Misty, and I'm just inking that up with the archival ink, the Oreo hybrid ink, so it doesn't bleed when I add water to it. And that's probably one of the most important parts. And sometimes I find that I need just a little bit more, so I'm gonna I always have a couple sheets, right? I got 2 up, so I'm gonna stamp that again and get a good impression. I love red rubber stamps for watercolor paper because there's a little bit of tooth, and so I want to make sure that the lines really get like the pressures there, and red rubber gives me that. And there we go, we got a perfect impression. So now we can start watercoloring. A couple tips. I did just stamp it. Now you might wait just a little bit to watercolor. I think I let it sit with the ink on overnight, and the next morning I actually painted. So what I'm doing here is I'm sort of just outlining the lines, and then I'm letting the water kind of do its thing. There's not a lot of guesswork. It's just the simple, I'm just letting the ink move on the paper. And it is ink, it's not pigment based. Ink base means it'll sit above the paper, but it also is really hard to move, so you have to work kind of fast. This is sped up by about twice the speed, so I take my time with this, but I also don't wait, you know, too long to add the water. And I just want to get the depth and the wet into wet sort of thing. And you can see that I have pigment on my brush, so if there's pigment on my brush, then I just kind of add it to where I think, you know, there needs to be pink. And now I'm going to go into green, and this time I just put a little bit on my non-porous mat so that I could pick it up. But I find that actually putting the ink right onto the paper gives it more of a pigmented look. So you'll see me use the green a little bit on the mat and then pick it up with my brush, but most of the time I'm doing exactly that. I'll wet a little bit of the area, add the ink to it, and then with the brush I just move it around in the paper, and that's really all I do. And this is a great technique if you are learning your values, your contrast and colors, or if you just want to just unwind and just enjoy the process. This is a great example of that. And you'll just see me kind of go around. I take my time. I don't want to rush it, and I'm just enjoying the time. I actually, while I was filming this, I had some music on, and it just made me happy. So you'll just see me kind of play around with the leaves. I'm going to add another layer of green just to give it more depth. Something that I love about the Karin Markers is the layering that you can do. It's an ink-based marker, so it's kind of like Dr. Phil's ink in a marker. You kind of get the same results with Tombow markers as well. But what I love about this technique is it can be kind of fresh and fluid. You do have to be mindful of how much water you're using, and so like get in, get out, and it's that fast. All right, so I'm going to go on to the next group. So when I stamp a couple at a time. I'll just spend like an hour stamping, and then I'll have panels to just watercolor. And the Karin markers, I can take them anywhere and color anywhere. I have been known to color at basketball practice when my boys are playing sports ball and I just have to be there. It's fun. Anyways, this is the tricky part of that. I wanted to get a little bit of that blue in, but I also wanted the yellow to shine through. So I colored a little bit of the blue on, and then I'm going to go back in later and just add some more of that yellow. And it works, but you have to be really careful not to make it turn green. So that's the only issue with that. But what I'm doing here is it was already wet from from painting yellow, and I just added a little bit of orange just to give it some depth. And I wanted the cute chicken to be yellow. I don't know, I seem to associate yellow. I know that there's like purples and blacks, but I thought I'll just keep it yellow. It'll be yellow and orange. And now I guess I kept it really monochromatic or analogous color scheme because I really am loving this orange. It's so fun. And so I'm just kind of coloring. It's kind of like an adult coloring book, and just wherever I feel like I need yellow or orange is where I'm at. I don't always pay attention to the lines because I'm going to blend it all together. I could have probably gone into the middle of the sunflowers, but I chose not to. But you'll see me later add the details to the sunflower into the beak. And I always like to use yellow for, like, when I don't know what color to use, I use yellow, and I can almost always rely on yellow to make good things happen. So again, coloring with a marker, and then I'm just adding that rest of the pigment in with a clean brush. And this one is kind of fun. I'm just doing some zigzags around because I know that as soon as I add water, it's just going to move on the paper. And this technique works with this paper because this paper is meant to use mixed media, meaning watercolor markers and water. All right, so this one's another fun one. This stamp and the last stamp both came from Unity Stamp, and they have some really fun stamps that I just can't get over. And so I wanted to get some shading in, so I'm using a very light pink, and then I'm going to go back in and just add a little bit of that purple wherever I think there should be like shadows. And the ink, the stamp, does most of the work for me, so I'm just adding color. And now I thought I was going to start with blue, but I also don't want my blue and my yellow to mix, so I'm waiting for the yellow. I'm waiting to finish the yellow. As I work on the hats, you just saw me. I just want to add a little bit of water. It's not very much. The stamp really has done most of the work for me. I'm just adding, basically I'm color blocking in. And now I want a bit of a background to those birds in my mind's eye. It is winter time, it's cold, and there's not a lot of clouds because it's sunny and cold. And the birds are just like, I'm over this, I'm ready for spring. So anyways, it's fun. I love birds and I love how birds have a personality, so I found this stamp set to be really, really fun. All right, I'm just adding water and letting that ink that I just put on bleed through the paper, and that's all I'm doing, and it's done. I let the stamp do most of the work for me. And you'll see that I'm just adding a little bit of the color to the beak, and then I decided that that was too much orange, so I'm taking it off just a tad bit. There we go. Those are the colored versions. I'm going back now that it's dry. I don't want the nose part, I don't know what that's called on the chicken, to bleed into the feathers, so I let it completely dry, and then I'm just going to add the beak and the little red thing that goes with the beak to the bird. And then I'm also going to add a little bit of yellow to add to the glasses. What you're not seeing is me finding the perfect brown, and I chose cocoa for the middle of the flowers, and now I'm just going to add the middle part in, and I'm taking my time with this as I want it to be perfect. And you'll see that I don't want it to get into the yellow. I love the nibs on the Karin markers. They are like perfect for precision. And you'll see that I'll touch up a lot of things with some yellow, and this is where I'm going to get in the glasses. But you do have to be careful when you do blue with yellow. You don't want it to be green, and luckily for me, there was just enough blue and a lot of yellow to not make it super green. So that is a trick. You just have to know how much blue to use, and it takes practice. Alright, so now I decided how I wanted to get my cards finishing. This is the finishing up. I'm using Drop a Note from Tailored Expressions for the floral card, and I'll be stamping that with my Misty. I don't know about you, but finishing up the card is so fun, and it like gives me closure. And so I'm just using my tape runner, and I'm adding the watercolor panel to some pattern paper. This one I actually decided to matte with orange because I really love that orange color on the flowers, and now I'm going to matte that orange with the green paper, and I'm just going to continue to glue. A little bit goes a long way, and we'll get all of these card panels onto the card bases, which I enjoy using card bases. It gives me a lot of wiggle room, so if I do mess up, I'm not messing up on the card base. And there we go, there's the one, and I'm going to get the other one mounted to the card base, and I just use tape runner tape. Anyways, if you found this video to be helpful, please like and subscribe. It means the world to me. It might not mean much to you, but it really does mean a lot to me. And then those are the finished cards. So anyways, enjoy painting on mixed media paper. I hope this gives you a lot of tips to use with your Karin markers.